Shalom, shalom. How are you, my beautiful sister?
Hello, wonderful, and glad that we get to talk. How are you doing?
I am doing great, doing great. So I wanted to talk about some great topics, and I titled it Navigating the Emotional Land Symptoms and Effective Coping Strategies that we have lived through in our process of being survivors, with myself being 6 years, you being about
Yeah.
to be 9 and 2.
Yep.
Amazing. Listen, God is awesome. That's all I can say is thank God for a second opportunity, a second chance in life of even our connection of being survivor sisters, y'all.
We would
So
have never
to
met if
clarify how I'm talking, yes. It's just a beautiful thing. So it's like the joy of me being part of this community is like it's beautiful and it all came from God. If I never would have went through that horrible disease of having surviving a stroke and having that even happen, Tawnie and I we'd have never, but I can't even see how we would have never met because you are literally my sister all the way across the world. You are my sister. So it was divine. It was divine in God. God had a plan. We were
yes,
gonna meet somehow. So here
you
we are.
did somehow,
Here we
some way.
yes. So in this, I wanted to go ahead and talk about understanding post-stroke depression. So the biggest thing is as we're talking to other survivors and we're talking to them about how we live and how we learn to how with and I'll say you and myself how we continue to keep a smile on our face. It's understanding that it's a process. It does not happen overnight. We didn't wake up after we figured out we had a stroke and say, "Hey, now we're smiling." It was a process of who we did what?
Yeah.
Now we got to figure out how to embrace life. Now we got to figure out how to get our smile back, how
It's a
to
big
gain our
practice.
joy. It was a process we went through. And even with the years of experience that we went through, we're learning still every day and we're going through it. And it's a process that we're going to continue to go through. So we speak loud about it. And I always say it's a blessing because God has given us the voice to speak loud about it when so many of us do not have that voice.
Absolutely. I know being in just the ICU, hearing how many people couldn't respond or answer the questions when they did the daily really ignited me to speak up more and advocate. And I know in our space, more and more are, don't want, can't talk about it publicly. So it's wonderful to be able to share that and also to talk about a topic that I want to say I did not feel comfortable talking about this. You guys, when I first got diagnosed with depression, I whispered it to my mom like it was a bad word, like I got depression. Like, and so to see me now speaking out about it and talking about it, it's because I don't want anyone to suffer in silence or to think like I thought, but I'm getting better. Why am I now having these feelings when before I couldn't see it out of my left eye? I was in so much more pain, and now, like, I am I going backwards? What's happening? And when you learn, as I had to find out from someone else in the community, not even, like my doctor, they were like, oh, yeah, my doctor told me around 2 years that depression is very common in survivors of brain injuries, of, even concussion. Like, how many people have gotten a concussion and they don't tell people, like, hey, heads up, in 2 years, you might be dealing with some feelings that are not your own. And you feel very, at least for me, depression felt very isolating. It makes you, and it was hard to talk about because it's like, but everyone else thinks I'm okay. Like, because you do smile, and I will continue to smile through the pain. And that's also one of the things that's very different about depression is I have to like tell people, yes, I do have it. Like they go, but you smile and you're so happy all the time. I'm like, Robin Williams, like some of the funniest people, like as funny and as much as I laugh and I smile, that's also how deeply like I feel. And I don't know if you feel that it's like wonderful and I want to feel all those feelings And I've learned through the years that it's not about, it's about riding them and realizing in a beautiful way. If you are in that downward right now, I'm telling you, it's going to come back up and you're going to feel good. If you're feeling good right now, love it, hold on to it. It's going to change in a little bit. Feelings and emotion, everything, always moving and going. Like,
But that's the beauty of it because as you said, these emotions, if you feel that you feel good right now, embrace that because it's going to change. And the thing is, that's the reality. Some may look at it as, hey, I don't want to accept that as maybe as a negative, but the reality is we're going to embrace that moment. I'm going to embrace it with this smile because deep down, I might be going through things that are one out of my control. And if I allow what I'm going through that's deep down inside to take over, then I'll explode. So I'm going to embrace the fact that I can smile. So therefore, I'm embracing the fact that I can smile because waking up out of the stroke, because my face was twisted and because it was left side was paralyzed, I could not smile. I
so
could not. So I couldn't express myself in that way. So for me to be blessed enough to express myself, baby, I'm giving you all the I'm giving you all the smiles because it's a gift. It's a gift from God,
yeah.
just as a breath of life is a gift.
Do
So that
strangers compliment like you're like, wow. And you're just like, I'm like, they go, I want to know your secret. I'm like, oh, just have a couple brain surgeries. I'm like, just have a stroke and realize how lucky we are to have a second chance. I'm like, it will help you.
it will help you, but at the same time, there's different levels. Has you figured out what helps you and you figured out, hey, I'm going to smile in spite of, I'm going to smile through it all. I'm going to smile through my pain because I remember when and I said, I remember when I couldn't. And I'm using this as another gift of giving God grace that I can smile. And it doesn't take away the fact that I may go through depression. It doesn't take the fact that I live with pain on a daily basis. It doesn't take the fact away the fact that, oh, dang, I was paralyzed. Yes. It's so it doesn't. So all of that is a reality. It's like I want y'all to see that light bulb above your head to say, hey, I was paralyzed. I suffered a stroke. And I can even give you this, I suffered a stroke of never even having a health issue prior to. I suffered a stroke, disrupted my life, but because of the determination that I had, I said, listen, I'm going to find a reason and a way for me to smile again, y'all. I am not going to allow this to take over my life. I'm not going to allow this to stamp me to say, hey, woe is me. I had a stroke, so life is over. No, it's not.
Badge of honor because you got it back. I know I was just like so grateful I didn't lose that ability. So I was like, oh, I'm going to keep smiling. And then looking into depression and anxiety, like you can trick your brain. Like you can, there's laughing yoga. You can sit there and laugh and you will start laughing. It's crazy. You're like, that's so weird, but it's really wonderful. And I just know, you've been out and someone has a scowl, they're angry, they're in their own mood. And like, especially checkout, I'm just going to say that. I always try because I was a cashier. So I try to look at their name tag. And I'm like, oh, hello, Rebecca. Thank you so much for, this. I really appreciate it. And she's, oh, all of a sudden a smile changes. And then guess what? Then you watch her, she's smiling at the next person. It's like this little ripple of smiles. So it helps. But I think just recognizing that, like you said, it comes and goes and you have to work on it. Like, I just don't, getting the second chance, I don't want to stay down in it. And so that's how I choose to get through it. Is like my grandpa once, I was having a really hard time getting so frustrated about things, pity party, all of it, and we've all done it. And my grandpa was like, after you go through all that, he's like, towards it, what happens? And I'm like, I don't know, like you accept it or you get over it. Like those two things. He's like, why are you wasting so much time and so much energy in that? And I was like, okay, I see it. And now I'm telling you that. And when you're angry, someone telling you to calm down, it does not help. Nobody ever in the right mind calms down. But just knowing that it's okay and that to ride those emotions. Like, and in the beginning, it felt like whiplash. I don't know if I was like, am I going crazy? Because the amount of like laughter to tears to anger to sadness, it was like, woo.
Girl, you already know I call that emotional roller coaster. I say it's called an emotional roller coaster. And the best way I try to explain it to people to understand is we are that computer. We are that computer. And I'm not saying this new laptop, this new electronic system we got. I'm talking about the old school computer with the big back. That old school computer that when it stops working,
Green
you have
screen. It's green and like a light.
exactly. Yes, you had to take it into a shop that once upon a time it was a shop that computer whizzes and what is whiz doctors, whatever the case. You had to take it into the shop to say, "Hey, my computer stopped working. Can you go in and fix it?" So what they did was they popped the back open, had to cut all the wires, take them apart, and say, "Oh, now it's gonna give me a couple days, or give me, or I'll call you once I figure it out. It may be a couple days, a couple months, couple weeks, and say, hey." I have to go inside now and take these wires loose, start over, and then figure out how to rewire them back to say, hey, this one may go over here, this goes over here, and we're going to see if we can rebuild it to get it to start working again. You say, oh, good. You get that phone call, say, hey, it's working again. That phone call to say, hey, it's working again is, hey, we survived the stroke. Hey, now you took a step. Hey, now the affected side is moving a little bit. And then all of a sudden you say, hey, my computer's working, I'm good. Then you say, hey, my computer just did some crazy frazzle razzle like glitch thing. And it's like, oh, well, you got to understand that we had to take it apart. We had to put it back together. So it doesn't guarantee that it's gonna work 100% as it was the first time, but we can get it going again. And if you do this over here, or if you wiggle a little bit, you might get a little better connection. Guess what? That's the same thing that happens to our body. Yes, we're working, we're
Right. Like,
smiling today. Yes, we're smiling today, and 2 seconds later we're crying. The 5 minutes later we're sad, we're angry and mad. It's okay, y'all, because that's called a glitch. They had to rewire our brain. Once we had that brain disconnect, we had that brain bleed, traumatic brain injury. It was rewired. We lost connection to that affected side, or to that part of our body that was once known. And it says, hey, but you have a breath of life. So we want to, and so they plugged this up and says, hey, I want you to keep living. We're going to plug you up and we're going to try to fix you here and there. So all of a sudden you may start, it may work. And I
yeah.
would say it may work just enough to give you that, to be like, oh, I'm good. It gives you that. I got this. I got this. And then all of a sudden you start to feel like, oh, what? I
Or
thought
like,
everything what's going on, baby? It's a process. It's called life. It's called life and the unknown to life. So this emotional roller coaster that we going on, we can't quite control it, because when you go back to that being that this glitch says this, the computer says, hey, you got me, you turned the power on and everything's working. But when those glitches come and you're trying to connect to this and that, it says, hey, I turned it on, but what's happening over here? You forgot you rewired me. You rewired me. So I didn't say I was going to work perfectly.
and
I'm on.
also, just like people, you don't do it all the time just because you rewired it and you did it successfully once. Do you always do things? Like, I'm gonna share what another survivor dropped was to look at it like a burger. And on the outside, it may look cooked and it may look fine. And then you go to serve that and you cut into it, and the middle of it is raw. Okay. So why you may look fine, you may be doing great. I know there was a point with my eye. I did too much in a day and it went back to being crossed. And I was like, oh my God, I messed up. It's like, no, that was my body going, you did too much. Like, you have to rest. And so sometimes having those physical reminders, or just people around you who are like, hey, like Tracy's like, you know, I need breaks in between. I also get frazzled when things don't go right. Like, I still do. I'm still working on it. Like, but it's so great to know and surround yourself with people that it's like, that's okay. Like, we're humans. And guess what? Other people are dealing with this. We're dealing with this on top of a million other things and rewiring our brains. So, like, be kinder to yourself, and just knowing that we get to ride this journey. We get to have this second chance.
And that's it. We get to ride this journey. We get to have this second chance. We get to smile. We get to choose joy. We get to, and listen, we get to have that feeling of, I want more. I want better for myself. I want to keep progressing. I want to keep going. Or either we choose to say, I want to sit in this dark place. And I just want, and I just, this is where I'm at. Because one thing for certain, not one person is going to be the same as another. We are all going through things at different levels. We may be connected in this community as survivors of a stroke, But listen, honey, we all had it at different levels.
Don't even
And
compare
we're
yourself to
all
your
strong.
last time. I've
Yeah.
even learned that because having the second brain surgery, I can't compare myself to 6 years ago. She didn't know about all these things. We did a reboot. We're doing a different, but instead of thinking it, I need to change that wording. It's not a reboot. I'm not starting over because I have the experience and the knowledge as I did before. So it's more about an evolution. Like you get to be a different you.
And with that being said, so with being having that evolution to be a different you, so it's like ask, and I want us to ask ourselves, what are you going to be this time around? Like, what are you going to be this time around? And I may quote this wrong, as in was a pastor, somebody I was listening to. Two things we look at, we say, so they say, what does your name mean? You want your name to stand for something. So you want your name to stand for something. So everybody's so busy trying to say, hey, I want to be known right now. I want to be known right now. But what are you really doing? Is it really want to be known right now, or you want to be known when you're gone? So I want my name to stand for myself when I'm gone, to say Tracey gave to the community. Tracey was a lover. Tracey supported. Tracey did this. Tracey graced herself with love and with the honor of God being in her. Tracey lived a life of faith with all the trials and tribulations that she's went through. I want to be remembered as that versus Tracey's went through a bunch of trials and tribulations, and she showed it to us. She kept the frown on her face. She was negative. Baby, I'm optimistic queen. We can't do that, because at the end of the day, all the things I went through, I still have a breath of life, and I choose to change. I choose to live. I choose to smile, and my smile again does not mean I don't have pain. Does not mean I don't have those dark days. I am
And
choosing.
you can have
Yes,
both.
you
Once
can
I
have.
started learning, you can have both. I can be grateful and frustrated. I can feel both of these feelings. I can be so positive and have all that and still be sad and grieving people. Like there, you can have both.
Yes, but that's the beauty of it. Again, guys, this is why we share these things. This is why we talk about this, because again, it's not one way, but I want you to know that you have this community. You're not alone. This is real life situations that we went through, and how we're healing through, and how we heal through, and how we are progressing on a regular basis, a daily basis, and we're deciding, we're saying we don't want to be stuck. We don't want to be like this for the rest of our lives.
To just share and shine a little light. So wherever, whatever phase you're at, and also know it's okay if you're like, I don't want to. That's okay too. Like we just knowing that and seeing other survivors further along was what helped me be like, okay, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is. So I just appreciate this and our chats so much. So thank you guys. And we'll see you
Yes,
next week.
thank you guys so much.